We're in Way Media.
Hello, twisted humans. Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting? Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alicia. And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked. Hello and welcome to episode 158 of your favorite podcast. Today I'm doing a haunted episode, and for this episode we are going to be discussing a man who probably has more haunted encounters than any other person in the world. His name isn't as well known as Ed and Lorraine Warren or Zach Bagans, but his legacy is everlasting. His research and experiences inspired a belief and a love of the supernatural in Dan Aykroyd, who then created Ghostbusters from those beliefs. But before we get into all of that, we have a special guest with us, one half of the Beyond the Shadows podcast.
Say hi, Scott.
Hey guys, how you doing?
And we're going to do some fun facts. I believe you brought 2 fun facts. Is that right?
I brought one, but then Ryan had some issues and wasn't able to get through, so I've got his fun fact also.
Yes, tell us.
Let's see. His fun fact was the tin can was invented in 1810, but the can opener wasn't invented until 1858.
That is a really fucking long time to not know how to open cans.
That's so long. 48 years.
48 years of rubbing them
just
on
like
concrete.
stabbing the top. The
Right?
amount of oopsie daisies that
Jesus.
must have occurred at that point.
A lot of smashing with rocks, I guess. I don't know how they
Yeah.
did that.
Just bring it outside, throw it at the ground really hard, hope for the best.
All right. So my fun fact is that of all the ice in Antarctica, 3% of it is made up of penguin piss.
Oh my God.
Right now.
Does that not seem like an astronomical amount?
Oh,
That is an astronomical
wonder-
amount.
if it's the first ice to melt, you know, like if everything melting right now is just penguin piss.
It's just straight
You know?
penguin piss.
Yeah.
And then like
That's
ice
what's
caps
polluting our waters.
melting. Yeah.
The ocean gets grosser and grosser. Exactly.
Oh God.
Buy a water filter, people. You might be drinking
This
penguin
episode is
pee.
brought to you by Brita.
Totally. Oh my God, that's funny. I feel like I have to go next because
Yes, of course.
my fun fact is penguin adjacent. So
Nice.
I was listening to an episode of Wine and Crime, and they were talking about elephant seals. And I learned that a very large baby elephant seal at weaning age, meaning like it's coming off mama's boob, is called a super wiener. And
That is
I'm
great.
5 years old and had a good giggle at that for like
a
20
super
minutes.
wiener.
A
Oh
super
my
wiener.
God.
Gotta love the super wiener.
My fun fact brings us back to the episode. It is that the phone number 555-2368 is one that is used in many different TV shows. It's the number for the private detective on the Rockford Files, the number for reaching the Bionic Woman, and the number for Ghostbusters, among many more.
Who are you gonna
Um,
call?
Ghost butt.
This phone number was chosen so often because even before TV and movies, it was a dummy phone number. Phone companies used it in advertisements for marketing and as the phone number printed on a phone that you buy, as an example. So everybody had this phone number.
Nice.
I love it.
I knew a guy in the Air Force. I remember he told me, he said, I keep getting all these prank phone calls. And then eventually one of the kids called me up and they said, hey, do you know your phone number is like 345 fuck? And he's like, oh shit, that explains a lot.
Yeah, that makes
That
sense.
explains some of the calls I've been getting. It's awkward.
In the
Uh-huh.
middle of the night. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That is fun.
Alicia, what are you drinking on tonight?
Well, we were supposed to have a rosé spritzer, but on account of Alicia had an extended nap, I am currently just drinking my go-to white, bodacious white. But the recipe itself is summery and sweet, and hopefully this isn't the one day that Sierra fucking did sangria with me.
I did not. You're good.
Okay, good. So I just planted all of my herbs. Wait for Sierra to make fun of me. And
Herbs.
we my mint plant is going nuts. So I was like, I'm gonna make something summery and fun with mint. So it is orange slices, Aperol, and mint leaves muddled together with your rosé wine, and you can top with soda water or tonic water, depending on your sweetness level, bitterness level of choice. But just super simple and summery, and I will definitely enjoy it this weekend because I specifically bought Aperol for this, and I'm not normally like a citrus liqueur girly.
Sounds really good.
But right now I'm just drinking white wine. I see Scott is representing a twisted tea
And I've
for
also got,
twisted and uncorked.
I got, I'm two-fisting it here.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, what's the other one?
I'm not fancy like you. I've got some twisted tea, and then I've got the Cayman Jack.
Oh,
Ryan loves these things.
There you
It's just
go.
it's a cheap bottle margarita.
You know what? We're not fancy here either. Usually I'm a White Claw girly, but I drank all of those, and Sierra hasn't really been drinking much anyway, so you're fine. I'm glad I'm
Yeah,
not
you're
drinking
drinking
alone.
one for me because I
There you
have
go.
water.
I got you covered.
Before we get into this episode, we are going to take a quick break to hear a promo for Beyond the Shadows.
Tell us a spooky
Let's
story.
get into the story. Okay, Hans Holzer is known as the father of paranormal and is often considered America's first ghost hunter.
Who are you gonna call?
He was born on January 26, 1920 in Vienna, Austria. But like many people in that area around that time, he moved to America with his family to escape anti-Semitic views. So he lived predominantly in New York, New York. As a small child, his uncle read him scary stories, and so he was never really afraid of monsters, just interested in the possibility of them. He shared his interests with young friends in school, allegedly scaring them and annoying their parents. If you believe the theory that I do, that children's brains are not yet filtered until we filter them by telling them that that's not real, there's no monster under your bed, then you can understand how Hans Holzer never got that filtered perspective. His uncle told him these stories as if they were real things, and eventually Hans started telling his own stories. He created fictional stories and told about experiences that he truly believed were real. At the age of just 11 years old, Hans Holzer decided that he would be a vegetarian because he didn't like the thought of eating something that was once alive the way that animals were. He actually eventually considered himself a lactarian, meaning that he would eat milk and cheese and things that animals provided, but not anything related to life. So no meat or eggs.
Poor bastard.
I know, I did
Later
it
in
for
life,
12 years. It was rough times.
let me tell you, his life gets better. Okay. Later in life, he decided to be a teetotaler, meaning that he had never consumed alcohol in his entire life.
Sir!
He's
What
like,
are
I
you
don't need it.
doing? What
I've
are
seen
you doing?
monsters.
No
I'm
alcohol, no fun.
After high school, Hans went on to college. First, he studied archaeology and ancient history. Then he studied Japanese. And then he finished off schooling with the studies of comparative religion and parapsychology. And as far as ghost hunters go, I think he might be the most qualified person ever to be a ghost hunter. Archaeology and ancient history are perfect for understanding people of the past who may now be ghosts. Japanese studies account for some of the most terrifying legends to ever exist.
True.
And then comparative religion would show him how people of many different religions experience and cope with death. And then, of course, parapsychology is the study of paranormal. So he is the top dog. Okay. After schooling, he continued to learn by way of teaching as he taught parapsychology at the New York Institute of Technology. While teaching, Hans Holzer was also investigating and writing. In his lifetime, he investigated thousands of cases of paranormal activity, and he wrote over 140 books about those investigations. I'm going to tell you some of the titles because they're
Wow.
interesting.
I was gonna
but,
say,
like,
should
I
I add
couldn't
it to my
touch on them.
Goodreads right now?
140 books.
There's too many. Some of them are Ghost Hunter, Ghosts I've Met, Yankee Ghosts, The Lively Ghosts of Ireland, Ghosts of the Golden West, The Ghosts That Walk in Washington, Gothic Ghosts, Victorian Ghosts, Haunted Hollywood, Ghosts of Old Europe, Southern Ghosts, Star Ghosts, and many more.
What is Star Ghosts?
Well,
is this like the
probably
Marilyn
aliens.
Monroe mirror?
Yeah, probably.
Or...
I think it's more cosmic.
I'm pretty sure he had.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure he had his own show too.
Oh, we'll get there. Hans Holzer is often credited with coining the terms ghost hunter and the other side. Though technically those phrases can be found in texts before he used them, he is what made them stick and what made them popular. Before we talk about some of his experiences, we're going to talk about his beliefs. Hans believed that there are 3 different kinds of paranormal entities: ghosts, spirits, and stay-behinds. They're all 3 different things. Ghosts, he believes,
What?
are kind of like what we would usually call stone tape theory ghosts.
Okay.
They're an energy of a surviving emotional memory that is stuck in a certain moment of time. Ghosts are on repeat. They cannot follow you home or attach to a human. They can't even communicate directly with you, only with their final memories or the emotional memory that is held there by the strong energy. Spirits, however, can communicate with you and can follow or attach themselves to you. Spirits, from the way it's described, are already on the other side, or what he calls the world of the mind, like some kind of collective consciousness type place. He also describes them as free spirits or discarnate entities, and they're able to interact with us through our minds temporarily. They are not always there, but can come through by way of our senses, touch, smell, sight, or sound, just for a moment before leaving back to the other side or the world of the mind again. Stay-behinds are the kind of ghost we should probably be afraid of.
Oh, no.
They are more dangerous and violent because they are sort of in a state of panic all the time. They don't know that they're dead,
Same.
and they have continued to haunt the place where they died, trying to make people notice that they're still there, trying to prove to even themselves that they're still alive.
Every urban legend we've
Oh, yeah.
ever covered.
They're in a constant state of denial.
I've never heard the definitions like this, but I agree. I think he's dead on.
Yes. So in this constant state of denial, the stay-behinds will make a lot of noise and cause a lot of issues for anyone in their space because they cannot grasp what is going on around them and why they're basically being ignored. Like, I'm fucking here. Why
So,
don't you
do you
see
think
me? Why
my
don't you hear
hair
me?
pulling ghost is a stay behind?
Probably.
I think it would
No.
have to be.
Fuck.
Yeah.
If it's spiritual, they're popping in and out. I don't think they're going to be doing. You wouldn't think they do something like that. Those aren't those ones usually like a message or something.
I
Like,
don't
hey,
The
know.
spirits. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Those
I
are the
got
ones like you
little
summon
kid
with a Ouija
energy
board.
for it from it, but I don't know if that's me placing like
Well, maybe it's just, even if it is a little
library
kid, it could
ghost
be a
energy on my
stay-behind.
hair pulling ghost. You know, you never
Yeah.
know.
It could still be a stay-behind, just being like, hey, you, I want
Hey.
I want a snack. You know what I
Wait.
mean? Like, he doesn't know he's dead.
yeah. Or just look at me. Why can't you see me?
Yeah.
And that makes me even sadder as like a naturally nurturing human. But
Yeah.
I don't like having my hair pulled in the middle of the night. That's fucking rude.
No, I don't like the idea of kid ghost either.
Yeah.
don't
They're
like-
so
kid
fucking
All
ghost-
scary.
problematic.
It is. I just the idea of it being like there was the Villisca Axe Murder House was close to where I lived in Nebraska when I lived out there, and I
Uh-huh.
wouldn't go there because there's just something about kid ghost. I don't
Yeah.
Nope. Pass.
It's
Yeah.
singing at the end of the hallway in a blue dress vibe.
So these are the only 3 types of paranormal entities that Hans Holzer believes exists, other than aliens, which he did believe abducted humans to find out what life on Earth was like.
Fair.
So, but he did not believe in demons or angels. All supernatural entities, he said, were either once living human beings or aliens living on a different plane. After studying religion, he believed all organized religion was just a money grab. So anything related, like angels and demons, were most likely ghosts, spirits, or stay-behinds that people just characterized as good or bad. Stay-behinds are the entities that Hans Holzer worked with the most. He believed that all humans were meant to go to the other side, the world of the mind. It was part of their life experience to then have this after-death experience. And also, he believed that in the world of the mind, free spirits can enter the well of forgetfulness, where they would literally forget everything that had ever happened to them and be born again, as in reincarnation. So
Okay.
he would target stay-behinds to convince them that they were dead, help them reach the other side so that they could then be reincarnated, which is really sweet.
Yeah, I like that.
You know, it's
Yeah.
funny. He doesn't believe in religion, but everything he says comes back to so many different religions.
I know, but like, which came first? You know what I mean?
Right.
Chicken or egg?
Yeah, exactly.
To help the stay-behinds be convinced that they were dead and needed to go to the other side, he would bring in a trance medium. At the time of his ghost hunts, he did not believe in the credibility of the mechanical means of communication with ghosts. He did say that ghosts are a scientific thing, but he didn't think that anything man-made up to this point was credible enough to prove ghosts, so he didn't trust them. He only used trusted trance mediums. A trance medium is a psychic who attempts to enter a trance, or a very vulnerable state, in which a stay-behind or a spirit can speak through the medium. It's not a possession, but it's basically a possession. The entity
Not,
uses...
but yeah, it is.
Basically,
Yeah, it fucking is. But he is like, people can't be possessed by ghosts, okay? It can't happen. But I mean, that's what it's doing. It's using the medium's brain and vocal cords to speak its own words. The trance medium usually doesn't remember what the entity says. So Holzer would record all of the communication through the trance medium. His recordings and openness about investigations is what made many credit him for ghost hunting TV shows and everything like that. Like things that were like, we want to watch it, we want to see it, because he was recording it. Recording what happened, even if it wasn't always something scary or that would garner interest, was an honest way of ghost hunting and sharing the information with the public.
Very true.
Yeah, we need more
We
of that
get
now.
edited
Right?
versions
Yeah.
Right?
now more than anything.
Yeah, when they first started, when those shows first started, they would sometimes not find anything.
Exactly.
That shit never happens anymore.
That's the accurate way of that. Me and Sierra will get like 1 or 2 words and then nothing for like an hour and a half. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's a realistic view of
Yeah.
it. You're not always getting the answers that you're looking for. They're not always able
Absolutely.
to make contact.
Well, unfortunately, Hans Holzer died in 2009, and either he or his team or whatever caught on to, you know, the way of today. And now all of his investigations that he recorded are either kept private or only available for purchase, like in his books. So that sucks. There's even pictures of spirits and stay-behinds that he has gotten from places he's been. But again, you have to buy the book to access them. As much as I would like to read and own all of Hans Holzer's books, I just cannot afford over 140 books by one author who's not Emily Henry. So can't do it.
I agree with that sentiment.
I did read and buy one book of his, though. It is called Where the Ghosts Are, The Ultimate Guide to Haunted Houses.
Nice.
One of the places that Hans Holzer visited and spoke about was the Whaley House in San Diego, California. Have you heard of it?
I have.
Hell yeah.
So we briefly mentioned the haunted house in our crossover episode with Tennis Podcast. Why do we always give Nick shout outs?
He's got
It's an
$10. $10, Nick.
Come on,
$10.
Nick. When we did a crossover episode on Tennis Podcast, we brought a top 10 list of the most famous haunted houses in America. The Whaley House was placed at number 9, but according to Hans Holzer, who visited on multiple occasions, the Whaley House is the most haunted house in America. And now, the Whaley House Museum proudly displays that to visitors, with America's Most Haunted House being a registered trademark that they own.
Oh,
So
they didn't play.
they're
They got
fucking
that shit
serious.
on lock.
Humble
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
brag.
Yeah.
We claim to
Yes.
be haunted, but the most haunted.
And we've
The
got a
most.
copyright,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
right. We got a plaque.
Try to say it's you. See
Yeah.
what happens.
I love it.
The Whaley House was built on the site of an old, popular public gallows for hanging criminals. The gallows were also famously too close to the ground, so when people were hanged, their necks would not snap, and they'd suffer for up to 45 minutes, slowly choking to death.
Oh, that's creating not good
That's
energy.
rough.
The worst and longest hanging was that of Yankee Jim Robinson
Oh,
in
no.
1851, who was convicted of attempting to steal a boat that they presumed he'd used for pirating. So, like, he didn't even steal the boat.
They
didn't-
presumed.
He didn't pirate,
Wow.
but he attempted to steal the boat that they thought he was going to pirate with. And they're like, okay, hanging. Like, that's it.
Wow.
Is he Captain Jack Sparrow though? Because I'm pretty sure that's the first movie plot.
It's pretty
It's-
close.
Yeah. And his godfather was the one who conducted the hanging. So he's like, et tu, Brute. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck?
Sounds like a setup.
Yeah.
Another infamous hanging case the same year was that of Juan Verdugo, who was a part of the Native American uprising led by Antonio Gara. Thomas Whaley was present at least one of those hangings, and then later on was hired as part of the firing squad for Antonio Gara's execution in 1852.
Dirty.
Okay, it's killing me here. If the, the gallows are too low, couldn't you make the rope shorter? I mean,
yes, you fucking could. You
right? I
totally
mean,
could. They just
they're
didn't
like,
care.
oh, it's not tall enough. I think it is.
You're like, why is this still a
Yeah.
problem though? Fucking figure it
Get
out.
6 inches, get 6 inches off that rope. You should be good.
Right? Evil. It's just
Yeah.
evil. And
Yeah.
for attempting to steal a boat that you might try to pirate with, like, it's a little harsh. All three men, Yankee Jim, Juan, and Antonio, were buried in El Campo Santo Cemetery just down the road from the gallows. The Whaley House land was purchased by Thomas Whaley, and the structure was built over top of the gallows location just 4 years after the two infamous hangings. So the gallows didn't last very long. I don't know if it was because it was too short or because they did things like hang people for attempting to do crime. But now it's a building. It was a meeting place for many people, operating as a general store, a theater, a courthouse, before eventually the Whaley family moved into it and made it their home in 1868.
So we've got a plethora of energy to start.
So,
Yes.
yeah,
Good
they
stuff.
thought, hey, we got this spot where we murdered a bunch of people. You know what? This would be a great place for our home.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
raise our children here.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
They can play out back on the gallows.
Nothing problematic about that.
No.
Not at all.
Okay, but before I move on, speaking of playing on the gallows is actually technically in the house. They did not, keep the gallows, but they did use like the same structure. It's now an arch, like to go from one room to another. Like
They kept the gallows.
it was built into their house. They used it as, it's still the wood in arch.
It.
Like
I'm so
okay,
sorry. I
anyway,
yelled in
moving
everyone's
on.
ears, but no,
Yeah.
that's
Like-
not okay.
You know,
Can you-
I wonder why this place is haunted. I just don't get it.
I can't explain it. Can
The
you imagine getting
most
up to
haunted
get
house.
like a glass of water in the middle of the night and you're like, oh, cool, there's just a silhouette of a man hanging there. That's
Yeah,
fun.
let's just push this ghost out of the way.
Yeah,
The
right. This
fridge.
ghost body, true haunted house style. What the fuck?
Listen, it's funny you mentioned pushing the ghost out of the way because let me tell you. Okay.
No.
We'll get there. We'll get there also.
I have goosebumps.
That goes back to the TV show you're talking about.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Okay, so the family experienced many emotional days in the home, and according to Hans Holzer's theories on entities, that is the reason for the ghosts and the ghost-like activities that most people experience, such as hearing a baby cry. The Whaleys had 6 children in total, but one child, the second, died at only 18 months old from an illness. That baby has likely made it to the other side, but its emotional energy, crying in the final days before his death, stays in the walls of the home like a tape recording.
Oh, my heart.
Another example of this is a cold spot on the 9th step of the stairs. After the Whaley House was turned into a home from being a courthouse records were left at the home as it was used as storage by the courts. When the courts wanted to back out of the deal to continue paying for the use of storage, Thomas Whaley kept the records hostage as leverage to get the money that he was owed. But while he was away, the courts had people storm the home and take the records back. In doing so, they held Thomas's wife and young daughter at gunpoint on the 9th stair of the home. The emotional anguish that they felt in that moment has left a residual energy of coldness that visitors feel whenever they walk up those stairs. Other emotional memories left behind as energy are probably happy ones. The family dog is sometimes seen or heard running through the home. Thomas Whaley is sometimes seen on the 2nd floor landing, or the scent of his cigar is smelled. His wife Anne's lavender perfume is sometimes smelled, and the sounds of children frolicking and playing in the home can be heard.
Yeah, that's unsettling. I know it's a happy memory, but if I hear kids laughing and playing, I'm getting the fuck out.
If you hear anything, time to bounce.
Yeah, I'm out.
Ghosts are not the only thing that Hans Holzer believed was at the home. Stay-behinds were also assumed to be haunting the place in a more terrorizing way.
No.
In Holzer's many visits, he attempted to help these stay-behinds make it to the other side, and he believed that he did in at least 2 cases. One was that of Violet Whaley, one of the older Whaley children. In 1882, Violet had married a man named George, but George confessed to Violet shortly after that he had a terrible secret. He was a con man, and he only married Violet to get his hands on the family's fortunes.
Oh.
He was confessing, though, because he had changed his mind. He was actually in love with Violet and wanted to prove to her he was a good man by not keeping any secrets from her.
Too little,
No,
too
he's
late,
going for the long
motherfucker.
con. No. that was a long con. He was just going for more cash.
Yeah,
His
right. I actually do
Violet's
love you.
parents were not okay with this at all. They're like,
Shocked.
fuck that man.
Yeah.
Okay. After learning of his true nature and the original intentions for their marriage, they did everything they could to keep the two apart and eventually forced a divorce. Violet, confused by so many different feelings of betrayal and sadness and love, took her own life in the home at the age of 22 in 1885.
Girl, it
Her
gets better.
suicide letter read, this is the quote from a poem, but it was just too sweet not to say. It said, "Mad from life's history, swift to death's mystery, glad to be hurled anywhere out of this world."
Ooh,
Which is,
goosebumps.
I know, it's an actual poem. I can't remember the name of the poet. Sorry. But she wrote it as her suicide letter as well.
Wow.
But like I said, Hans Holzer believes that he helped her to the other side. Another stay-behind was thought to be Yankee Jim. He would have been a stay-behind since even before the house was built, because he died before the house was built there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some
And the
believed,
gallows.
right? Some believe that Yankee Jim was part of the reason that Violet completed suicide. As a stay behind, he may have been silently tormenting her without anyone in the family realizing it. Holzer believes that these entities were all once and still somewhat are human, so they have no supernatural power over you, but they can still hurt you as much as any human could without touching you. Mentally, they can cause damage. And maybe he did that by playing mind games with Violet, stomping around the home.
Seen like people have very heavy emotional reactions just out of nowhere in certain rooms, places.
Or in their dreams too.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's another big one.
I literally just did a story that Hans was part of, and it's the same. It's got a lot of that same
No
stuff. That's the
way.
episode that we have dropping tomorrow. Which will
Very
be
serendipitous.
he is the one that investigated it.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, because
Yeah, a lot of the stuff you're saying is right on from what he's right on.
Have you ever had a heavy, like, emotional experience in any of the ghost hunts you guys have done?
We haven't done a lot of ghost hunts. I grew up in a haunted house and worked in a haunted hospital. And a lot of it is just not a lot of emotional stuff. I've had some really dark, scary stuff, but nothing really emotional.
Yeah, fair.
Nothing I can think of.
It's always the dark stuff that comes first.
Yeah.
So, as I said, Hans Holzer did his trance medium visited the Whaley House with the intentions of helping the stay-behinds realize they were dead and needed to go to the other side. And according to others, they succeeded in that. But according to those same others, there is still one stay-behind left at the home, and he is an angry entity who is not kind to visitors.
Absolutely no.
There is a show on Max and on the Travel Channel called The Holzer Files. In this show, one of Hans Holzer's daughters gives her father's old files to modern day ghost hunters so they can revisit these places and see if they're still haunted. In one episode, the new team goes to the Whaley House, and with the help of Holzer's old tapes and their psychic medium and some modern day ghost hunting equipment, they make contact with the stay-behind of who they believe is Juan Verdugo. Juan is very angry. He laughs at the ghost hunters often, and in one scene, they say that Juan actually pushes over one of the guys on the show. So,
I've seen this episode.
Did you?
Have you?
Yes, I have.
Oh my
I have seen it.
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
can't think of the name of the guy. He's a pretty famous ghost hunter
David
nowadays.
something.
Yes, I can't remember what it is, but yeah, he gets knocked right over. And
There's
I think
extra gross about ghosts laughing at you. Like,
I
that's
know.
extra unsettling and sinister.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
One, they said, is angry because Thomas Whaley and all of the people on the land really took everything from him, including his life. And I can certainly understand why a Native American would have feelings of anger towards modern day Americans in the area.
Shocking.
Thankfully, he doesn't leave the property. But if you decide to visit the Whaley House, be careful when standing under the arch where the gallows once were. Many people have reported feeling pressure on their neck or a coughing and choking sensation.
I can't believe they left the gallows in the house.
Right in the house. It's not even like out back. It's part of the house.
That we couldn't have replaced that
in
support
1854. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's such nice craftsmanship. You gotta leave it here.
I mean, I'm a sucker for architecture, but now this is gonna make me second guess every arch, beam, anything in my lifetime. Yikes.
Unfortunately, this new group going and investigating the Holzer files are no Hans Holzer. They did not help talk to the entity and get him to the other side. They kind of just go in and tell the owners, yep, it's haunted. And then the episode's over. So, whoops.
Thanks for telling me something I already knew.
Yeah.
Right. If they solve the whole case and send them out of the way, what are the next ghost hunters going to investigate?
Exactly.
True.
My next notes are not very nice, but the show kind of sucks in my opinion.
The Holzer files.
Yeah, that episode was good, but they love to talk about in a lot of episodes how there's something there and it's not human, it's a demon. And I'm like, Hans Holzer doesn't even believe in demons, so how fucking dare you use his name and then say it's a demon? Okay,
Yeah, fair.
but
Yeah,
demons
the
sell,
show is literally his
so
name.
yeah,
That adds to
it's
like the
his daughter is the
ghost
one who's
hunty
like,
trope, fake
yeah,
trope.
exactly.
Mm,
But you got to make somebody some money somehow, and
I
if
guess so.
his daughter approves, then who am I to judge?
Fair. Fair enough.
Yeah. So anyway, this is my story of Hans Holzer, the man who inspired Ghostbusters, his legacy. I really want to get my hands on one of his ghost photo books, because how fucking great would that be as a coffee table
Coffee
book?
table book.
Look at these
Oh, that'd be
photos of
great.
ghosts. You know?
Absolutely.
I didn't realize he had that many books. I knew he'd written a
Oh my
few.
God, I
but
know.
Yeah,
I
I
had
didn't
no
either.
idea it was that many.
So many. And a lot of them aren't even in
Wild.
print anymore, so you have to like find old copies.
Mm, which makes them expensive.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. The power went out here for like 2 seconds and then came right back.
Weird.
I'm
So weird.
Yeah, I have
Haunted.
no idea.
Yeah.
We were speaking of ghosts. Here we go. That was really weird. It went out for like a second and then came right back on. I had to wait for the internet to fire back up.
Weird. I will blame us.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are up to.
This haunted
kind-
episode.
What kind of shit you guys are pulling over there?
Brought to you by the twisted haunted ladies.
This podcast will haunt you.
I guess, huh?
I mean, it's a true story.
I think my light just flickered too.
Ah!
You guys are doing something. Yeah.
You got to cleanse your space, Scott.
I'm-
Do you cleanse your space?
You know what? I haven't.
You should.
But I need to start
You
doing
need to tell the stay behind to go to the other side.
Yeah.
So me and Ryan were talking about this before. I live in a brand new house.
Okay.
And
Brand new.
it is. It's 2 years old. It was just
Yeah,
It
but
was
what's
built on some
underneath it?
gallows.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a gallows built into the upstairs. But
How
Oh.
many beams are in your house?
Guys, we really broke
From
his.
Scott.
but,
Oh,
ever
wait,
since
he's back.
Did I lose you again? Okay. I froze. Here I am. See? Something's up.
Something is
Unstable
up.
network.
Sorry.
Okay. Am I still here?
Yes.
Okay.
Just
Ever since
gotta-
we started doing the podcast, little shit's been happening both at mine and Ryan's house.
Your
Nothing-
stay behinds want to be on the show.
Maybe they might be. They
Yeah.
want to be in a fire pit for sure.
Yeah, just no.
It ain't nothing. It isn't anything real crazy, but like Ryan at his house, one of his blinds in his office, he left and it was closed, and he came back home and it was open. And it happened
Ick.
like 2 days, and it had to happen like 2 days in a row.
Ick.
Okay, so
Somebody's
ghosts
in
are
a loop.
scary, but also make sure there's no one living in the attic.
That's some messed up shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sierra's got a free
A freeloader in the
buffer.
attic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets live shows constantly.
Yeah, he went through his whole house because he just bought his house recently. I'm like, did you get all the keys and change the locks? Is someone coming in? So he actually set up cameras, but he didn't catch anything or anybody in there or anything like that.
That would be so
That's
much worse if
crazy.
he did, though.
I know.
Right? What's worse? You know?
Right. Yeah.
Go leave a 5-star rating and review for us, guys, and for our friends over at Beyond the Shadows, because they definitely deserve it. Even a
Oh, thank
5-star
you.
rating on Spotify is still great. We would love to get to 100 ratings there before the end of 2024. So make us that happen. Make us that happen. What was I? An old soul I was just possessed by.
Make us that happen.
And Sierra, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Again, you covered a high profile case and did it gracefully. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah, excellent job.
Scott, since you're repping Beyond the Shadows alone, before we end off the show for the afternoon, it's 11 o'clock at night. Do you want to tell us where our listeners, our twisted humans, can find you and any fun and upcoming episodes you guys have going on?
So you can find us on any platform that any platform you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, you name it. We're on all of those. We've got all the social medias. We got a big Instagram page. We got a lot of other social medias that don't do anything. But feel free to go look at those.
Yeah, you guys are killing it.
Yeah, on Instagram, we're doing all right.
You've hacked the algorithm. That's half the battle.
But no, we do basically the same kind of content that these ladies here do. We do a lot of we'll do alien abductions, haunting, true crime, cryptids, you name it. We do all kinds
All
of
the
stuff.
good shit in the world.
Yeah, we like to have a lot of fun. We're kind of we get a little rowdy. But the latest episode I have coming out is the one that we talked about. It's Gravesend. But that one will be out when this episode comes out. That'll be there. So
Perfect.
feel free to check us out any platform. We're there.
Other favorite episodes of mine personally is your guys' Diddy coverage. You guys did a really good job of that.
Oh, thank you.
Your Amityville 3-part, also a great job. And I just really enjoy listening to you and Ryan because you genuinely sound like you're just having so much fun, and that's like the best part about podcasting is you got to enjoy what you're doing because it's
we appreciate that.
often
We really
a thankless and payless job. So the least
sure.
y'all can do is leave us a 5-star rating and review for all of us. Full circle.
Absolutely. And I love you ladies. I listen to you guys every week. It's fantastic. You do an awesome job. Thank you for having me on tonight too.
Of course.
Sorry Ryan couldn't make it.
No, we had
Let him know
about
we missed him.
20 minutes
we will,
of
sure.
20 to 30 minutes of technical difficulties. I fell asleep and Sierra called me and gave me a heart attack. So something weird is in the air tonight for sure. We're haunting Scott. It's not our fault. But it really probably is. Your poor wife. She's like, never record with these women again. But this was really, really so much fun. And thank you again for coming on and bearing with the technical issues. Before we leave the podcast, Scott, we like to talk about something happy in our lives or something we're looking forward to, no matter how big or how small. Do you have something you're excited about? What's happening this weekend? What's going on?
We do have something exciting coming up actually. I think we talked about it before. On the 18th of June, we are headed to the Conjuring House, and we're going to do an investigation with Where the Weird Ones Are, Kevin, and Joe from Tales, Trails, and Tavern. We're all meeting at the Conjuring House. We're going to do an investigation. We're going to be going live on Instagram. So we're looking forward to that.
And if you don't hear this episode, it's because the world ended because they were all together at the Conjuring House.
Yeah, right.
We can't follow that with excitement. We're so jealous. I was like,
my exciting thing is that I get to watch that on Instagram Live. Like, I'm excited.
We hope you tune in. We appreciate it.
I'm definitely excited for that as well. And you guys will, I'm sure, get some energy between all of you being in the same spot together. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. We're sending Ryan right into the basement.
No.
Can't wait to watch that on Instagram Live. We will share the link for you guys to go and check that out. Definitely go and show Ryan and Scott some love over at Beyond the Shadows. And we will see you next week for my murderless episode. And in the meantime,
keep it twisted.
Twisted and Uncorked is a proud member of Weirding Way Media. Hosted and produced by Sierra Zorn and Alicia Watson. If you like the show, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening now. It really is the best way to spread the word. You can check out all things Twisted on our website, twistedanduncorked.com, and we will see you next Tuesday for a brand new episode.